We come to the news next, and in obviously the most shocking story of the year, definitely something we didn't see coming a mile off, that we definitely didn't say was a likely end as soon as this thing was announced. Google Stadia is just shutting down and fucking packing up in January.
No, I can't believe it.
Continuing Google's long, proud history of putting an enormous amount of money into something that they immediately bail on if it isn't a roaring success out of the gate.
Well, you've got enough money that you could probably fund a small sovereign nation. This kind of chunk that they spend on, yeah, mid,
yeah.
Probably top 20 sovereign nation. It's over. The dream is over, guys. For Google Stadia.
Now, Mark, as I see you crying into your officially licensed Stadia t-shirt there, you've got to have some feelings about this. I know it seems like based on what we're seeing online this week, that developers who were still actively in the process of making a version of their game for Stadia were caught unawares by this. I guess in the kind of like going into, how much fucking money Google have, the least they can do for the consumer is what they're doing, in as much as everybody's getting refunds.
Because this is the question this is the question that I asked, and I was talking with Russ from Retro Gamecore because he was tweeting about it, and I said to him, I was like, look, do you think that they're doing these refunds just because of a make good, or is it the fact that like the actual just the platform itself just didn't actually make that much money, that Google feel like this isn't going to make that much of a hit on them to refund everything? And maybe it's a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B, but I do think the bigger thing here, and as you mentioned there, is like, there are developers that have been tweeting this week about the fact they had games coming out in like the next month, 2 months or so, that they're now just like up in smoke. And you would hope that, like, at the very least, and God knows like how these things contractually are done, but you would hope that if these are like Stadia kind of like specific games, that Google will do make good and say like, yeah, look, you can go put this on Steam, or whatever the case may be, to make that transition as smoothly as possible. But the simple fact that the way that a lot of these people found out about the fact that they wouldn't be able to release these games in Stadia is through a tweet from Google saying, nah, fuck you all, we're not doing this anymore, is it's part of the parcel.
Massive tech companies pulling the rug out from underneath smaller developers is unfortunately not an alien concept.
Do you know what another problem as well I've seen this week? So lots of companies that already have games out on Google Stadia have basically been tweeting like, we are trying to figure out what to do with your game progress, because obviously people have put in like hundreds and thousands maybe of hours in games on Google Stadia. They have all these saves, all these unlocks, all of these things, and a lot of Google Stadia's games aren't platform exclusive, so they go across multiple platforms. So there's a lot of developers, like for instance IO, obviously one after my own heart here, were like, right, yeah, Google Stadia players, we're trying to figure out how we can get all of your Hitman 3 progress basically to go over to another platform if you need it. So there's a lot of like achievements that players have got that just basically kind of pale into insignificance. It's not like like your PS1, PS2 eras, or even later than that, where you've got all of your saves like on a hard drive or a memory card anywhere. Like once Stadia stops, the service is over. You ain't got nothing.
And the thing is as well, like they have not got long to figure this shit out, because it's shutting down in January.
3 months. Yeah.
It's like, even if they had fucking given developers a heads up about saying like, look, we're not sure how much longer we think we're going to continue this service. We're giving you a heads up to maybe think about ways that you can kind of move this stuff over to other platforms or save files, whatever. But just no, fuck you, 3 months, go figure it out.
Yeah, like even if like this is an industry that loves an NDA, could you not have given the developers like a heads up a few months ago and just put them under an NDA? It's like, start moving your resources off the Stadia platforms, guys. Just as a little courtesy. It still would have been fucking rough for them, but it's more than 3 months, like. Fucking dog shit.
They gave it a go.
They put it out? Did they give it a go?
Really didn't.
Yeah, I mean, Like,
and the thing is as well though, because like one of the things we were talking about at the time, I remember we spoke about this when Stadia was, I think, either announced or launched, that like this is going to be a big thing in regards to, this is going to make a kind of like impression on what cloud gaming looks like and if it's going to be successful. And if it is successful, will other developers, will other companies chase after this as well? As like, hey, this is like where the future is, because there are people out there that are like, yeah, cloud gaming is the future, who are probably the same people that are saying fucking Web3 and crypto and NFTs are the future, who are probably the same people that are saying VR is the future. Mm-hmm. And maybe some of those things are, but clearly it's not the case just yet.
Yeah.
And I do think there is a place for cloud gaming. Like I've seen both ends of the argument here. And I certainly, on the one hand, look, you have no ownership over these games. And we're seeing firsthand here, like you have no ownership over these games. If the service shuts down, you are fucked. You are,
because that's it as well. It's like people are getting refunds on their systems and stuff like that. Are they getting refunds on the multitude of like the subscription they paid or any games? Because there are like, they get a bunch of games with the subscription platform on there, but there are still games you pay for individually too. Am I right in saying that?
Mean, but there's not even just that. There's like the actual fucking controller is like, it's actually scrap, because while it does have, I believe it has like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth built in, it can't, like one of the things they've been asking for Google to do, and fuck knows whether they'll do it, is just make that thing compatible with, just even your PC, just to give it some other use, because it looks like it's a fairly decent controller. And it would just be insane for that thing to just be a paperweight come January.
I'm sure like there'll be someone on the internet probably out there developing firmware for it right now, that you can install in the controller and then it's compatible with everything. But whether or not Google are going to do that by themselves for everyone, we'll have to wait to see. By the way, one of my favorite tweets I saw on this, I was just like following the trend, and so I can't really credit the person, but you might be able to find it if you search for it, was like, can't believe Google Stadia is shutting down. I feel so betrayed. Wait until everyone in my Google Circles page hears about this.
Or was it Google Buzz?
Oh yeah, Google Buzz.
I'm going to live stream reaction this on my Google Glass.
Yeah.
And I just like, I think there is a place for cloud gaming. I think it's more based around the idea.
Final Fantasy VII. That's the ultimate cloud gaming.
Cloud gaming's my favorite character.
But I think it's like cloud gaming works in conjunction with like your actual saved games, your actual like purchased copy,
as like the sidecar on what you've already got.
Because I've used xCloud a fair bunch, and hey, look, there are certain games where like cloud gaming, it's just not the way to play it. It's just not going to happen. But I played a bunch of Citizen Sleeper early this year. I actually played a bunch of Tunic on my Mac using the xCloud.
Garrett Kidney Game of the Year.
Garrett Kidney Game of the Year. Thank you very much. Switch version just out now, and like those games working in conjunction with like the actual game that you have. I guess not technically the same here because it's on Game Pass, but still, like being able to bounce across different platforms to continue playing the game that I'm playing using that kind of cloud sync feature, that sort of stuff, that's awesome. And being able to use cloud gaming in conjunction, like that for me, that is the ideal way to do this. But like, what was the, was it Logitech announced like a week or two ago, they've got that handheld device coming out, which is like specifically the only thing you can do with it is cloud gaming. And it's like, I know Phil Spencer was putting out some kind of positive remarks about it because he's been using it, but it's like this is going to only kind of like appeal to such a kind of niche core amount of players that probably are the only people that have the kind of capability to play this in an ideal setting.
Exactly. Phil Spencer probably with a man with an internet connection so fast that it could take down several planets, I would imagine. So
like I'm really curious about that Logitech device to see like how that's going to fare if it maybe at some point they might decide, maybe we should make this more than just a cloud-specific device.
It's not one of those things where, say, like when Nintendo did the Virtual Boy, right, where they were like, okay, this virtual reality gaming thing, and it just didn't work, and it was awful, and it was badly executed, and then no one bothered to try it for ages. Like, it's much like Fetch in Mean Girls. Someone is going to make cloud gaming happen. It will happen at some point. But to be honest, all the companies that are kind of popping up trying to execute it, my money's on Microsoft or Sony being the ones that make cloud gaming work. So
again,
that's the reality.
To some degree, Microsoft are making it work already with the way that Game Pass can incorporate that, how they've incorporated that into like their bigger ecosystem.
Yeah, but maybe like the next console, the next Xbox or whatever is just completely set up for that cloud gaming. It doesn't really have the hard drive. You can get like there'll be like 2 or 3 models, and like the cheapest model is just set up for cloud gaming, but it's integrated perfectly and it just works. And we're just not quite there yet. And a few of these companies that have tried to do this, like we mock Google and stuff, but it probably is going to be where the puck ends up going, but it just isn't quite there right now, I would say.
I still think it speaks to like the bigger picture, though, that if you go that approach and you want to say like, all right, we're going to just exclusively, do just cloud gaming, like you always have to like think about the people that are like the kind of lowest sort of denominator that you have to appeal to, who are like, okay, there are probably people that are still playing video games in 2022 that either don't have an internet connection or don't have like a good enough internet connection where they're ever kind of fussed about like this, still buying physical games and whatnot.
Yeah, but they can still buy a model. Like that's what I mean. Why I think Sony or Microsoft are the ones to do it is they'll still have manufactured versions of their consoles where you still have that physical game option, but
you're not 100% relying on the cloud.
Yeah, but they will make the version of the cloud gaming of their console like so value for money in terms of how much you're paying for the physical thing that it will convert a lot of people. A lot of parents will see that, like say like £150 sort of $200 version of the console on launch and be like, I'm going to get that for my kid because we can afford that. We can't afford 300-400 quid for like the big, 1 terabyte disc version that like your hardcore gamer might want to buy, for instance. So
true, but you say that, but how much is a Series S at the moment?
€250.
Yeah, right.
And while like there might be parts of that I agree with, I'm not exactly thrilled about Microsoft, king of naming conventions, to have a third fucking console at launch that they release.
Yeah, no, fair enough, but still, like I think that is what happens with it ultimately next. But we'll see. Look, good luck to Logitech. I think Amazon kind of were getting into it, weren't they? But I've not heard too much about their thing lately.
What was that? Really. Was it Luna? I think it was.
Luna, yeah. I think maybe they saw how Stadia was playing out and they like initially like rushed something together. And then when Stadia was released and then where it was like 6 months after release, all of a sudden Luna kind of went a bit quiet. And like Bezos is like, nah, even I have more money than like every country combined other than maybe 3 or 4 of them. And I am not going to try it to do this because it just wouldn't work. But Stadia,